Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Resonant Blade Devlog series. So the demo's out, and the feedback that I've gotten so far has been really great. I really just want to say thank you to everyone who played the demo, and I really appreciate all the comments and the feedback. Since the demo release, I've been working on making the gameplay better and also implementing a lot of the feedback into the game. I've been trying to rework the scanner ability so that it's actually useful in combat. Enemies also have a few new changes. Some of them can actually change their resonant frequency in mid-battle. I've also been working on coming up with ways to better explain the gameplay and the mechanics. That and a whole lot of other updates coming up. So let's start with the scanner. In the current release, it's used by toggling it on and off. When it's on, the player can see and hear the enemy's resonant frequency. This really didn't stop players, though, from just guessing a frequency until they found the right one, and then killed the enemy. The main idea behind Resonant Blade is really being able to use sound to help you defeat your enemies. But if that's not really necessary, then what's the point of having it? I needed to find a way to encourage the player to listen and use the scanner. I changed the scanning ability to be an instant cast ability with a long cooldown, about 10 seconds. Enemies that are within the scanning pulse range will reveal their color for a couple of seconds. However, you'll be able to hear their resonant frequency for the entire 10 seconds. So essentially, you should be able to hear enemies' resonant frequencies most or all of the time. To help discourage players from just guessing until they find the correct resonant frequency, when you hit an enemy now with the wrong frequency, you'll be stunned for a short time, which leaves you vulnerable. Technically speaking, you can still guess your way around the frequencies until you find the right one, but it's really going to make the combat a lot more difficult and a lot more tedious. So you're now rewarded for actually listening and being aware of what's going on. Although you'll be able to see an enemy's color for a couple of seconds, they can now change their resonant frequency in mid-combat. I added this feature in to try to make the player rely less on the color and more on the sound. I added some more HP to the sword fighters and the snipers to make them last a little longer in a fight so that they'll be more likely to change their resonant frequency during the fight. In some of the previous footage, you probably noticed that the player only has 3 frequencies in the selection wheel now. I reduced it to 3 for a couple of reasons. First, now that the player really has to listen to make the combat more viable, I think picking from 3 frequencies will be a lot easier to distinguish and match. The original 6 pitches were all within the range of 1 octave. I've now increased that range by raising the highest note an octave and dropping the lowest one an octave. That way it's even easier to hear which frequency is being sounded. The second reason for reducing the player's frequencies to 3 is so that there's room for growth and progression. The player will visit 3 dungeons throughout the game where they'll receive a crystal to upgrade the Resonant Blade, adding on a new frequency. This should make it easier for new players to get familiar with the gameplay mechanics, and getting used to the red, yellow, and blue frequencies. Getting past this turret proved to be really difficult for players, and for good reason. Nothing was really explained on how to get past it. The only way past it is to charge the Resonant Blade with red, yellow, and blue charges, and then shoot it down with a wave blade attack. I added in a holographic terminal that the player can interact with by scanning it. This shows a little tutorial video of Atlas parrying the 3 projectiles, red, yellow, and blue, and then shooting out a wave blade. There's also some NPC dialogue now that tells the player about the Resonant Blade's triads, and also a HUD message that'll pop up when a triad is charged. Also, when charging up a triad, the player will have 3 resonant particles that circle around them. There's also no timer on this now, so the triad will last until the player uses it. I changed the fire rate of the turret from a single shot to more of a burst fire shot, shooting 3 projectiles in quick succession, which should make building the triad combo a lot easier and faster. I also made the turret's resonant frequency constant, so you'll only have to scan it once to figure out its weakness. This way you're not trying to juggle keeping track of the turret's frequency, parrying projectiles, and also switching the Resonant Blade to match the turret's frequency. I added in a skip option for the intro cutscene. If you hit any button during the cutscene, the skip text will appear at the bottom right. Hitting escape or activate after that, and the cutscene will skip forward. This will save time for playtesting and anyone who just wants to skip straight to the action. Grass in the tunnel area can now be chopped down. Objects that the player can interact with, like treasure chests and computer terminals, will now light up, making them stand out more. For players using a controller, I added dead zones to the joysticks to help avoid any unnecessary movement. Without this, the platforming sections were not really that friendly. I adjusted the player's diagonal movement so that you'll move at the same speed while going diagonally, instead of being slightly faster. Dialogue can now be sped up significantly if the activate button is pressed. This will make getting through longer chunks of dialogue more convenient for fast readers or if you've already read through that text before. Or I guess if you don't want to read the text at all. I added another triad combo for the player, a healing ability. After storing 3 charges of any color in the Resonant Blade, the player can hold the Z button on the keyboard or the left trigger on the controller to channel the heal ability. It has a 1-second channel time and leaves you vulnerable while channeling, so make sure to use it at the right time. To help explain this mechanic in the game, one of the NPCs will tell you about it in the lab. Also, when you get 3 charges, an overlay over the HUD will pop up showing that the heal is ready. Alright, that wraps up this episode. The build for the new demo should be available in a few days. If you want to leave feedback for the demo, just check out the link in the description below. Thanks for watching everyone, and thanks again for playing the demo. And as always, feel free to give this channel a like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.